afternoon everyone, it's Carol here at Oak House Journals, and as always thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It's always lovely when you do. Unfortunately the light isn't good. I like to try and do my videos first thing in the morning, but the day has got away from me today, or time has got away from me today, so it's around about 3:30 in the afternoon, which here in the UK at this time of year means that it's going dark early, and also it's a bit of a rainy day outside, so that's not helping, so apologies about that. As you can see, I've got a guest check on my desk, and I'm going to be altering this as part of the 50 stack challenge. Now I've got guest check number 43 on my desk because I made a bit of a boo-boo when I was creating this one, and I used guest check number 44 for this one, or for my backing, and I only spotted that when I came to collect this guest check ready for doing today's video. So even though it says guest check number 43 at the top, it is actually guest check 44 because that's guest check 43. Honestly, if you can follow that, great. If not, ignore me. But that won't matter at all because that's going to be covered up. The prompt that Amy gave us for guest check number 44 was to do some mark making. Other than the fact that I'm going to be doing some mark making, I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do. And I haven't even got a clue what mark making I'm going to do. I am winging this and I feel very, very uncomfortable. For those of you that know me, you'll know that this is seriously out of my comfort zone. So I'm just going to go with it. I've got a piece of mixed media card here that I have cut to the size of my guest check. So I'm going to put the guest check to one side and I'm going to work on this and then attach it to my guest check. As I've said, this is mixed media paper and I've used this, which is my usual go-to, and as always, information in the description box about this and all the other products I'll be using this afternoon. But somebody did ask me the other day why I used this particular mixed media paper and do I use anything else. I only use this one because I like it, I've got a pad of it, it works well, nothing more than that. And yes, I do use something else. I use this one, which is a Daler Rowney one. And again, it's just because I have a pad of it. This one is slightly thicker. So for these, I prefer using the Canson one, which is a slightly lighter weight. But apart from that, no other reason at all. So as I say, information in the description box below the video. Now I've got a couple of pieces of just normal kitchen roll on my Tim Holtz mat, and I'm going to be using that because I'm going to be making a bit of a mess today. I've got some just normal masking tape, so I'm going to put some strips of this just down onto this card. So here I've got a charcoal pencil and all I'm doing is just using a scalpel knife or a sharp knife, and I'm just taking a little bit of the charcoal from the tip of the pencil. And I'm going to be scattering that onto my piece here. So here I've got some clear gesso and a brush, and I'm just putting it on top of the charcoal and smooching it around. That's a technical term. So I've just smooched it around to activate the charcoal. And here I've got a pot of water and I'm just applying the water onto the card to move the gesso and the charcoal around the card a little bit more, and it works its way into the grooves and crevices of the masking tape, and by adding more water you can lighten up areas, as you can see I'm doing there in that bottom right hand corner, and it gives a really nice effect, and you can get lots of sort of depth of colour as you want by applying more or less water. So I'm just doing one or two finishing pieces or finishing touches here, and I'm going to go in with my heat gun and give it a blast to dry it all off. So I'm really pleased how this has turned out. It's got a lovely texture to it, not too grungy, but grungy enough. So now I've got a palette here and I've lifted out a couple of these. Now these are watercolours, and this one is Payne's Grey, one of my all-time favourites, and this one is an indigo. So I thought I would use this one. I've also lifted out this one, which is pale gold. Now Queen Gold or any gold is not my favourite colour in the slightest, but I thought I might use this for some of the mark making as well as some black gesso. Just going to put a little bit of this and bring in my water again. Just mix this up. Trying to get just a hint of colour, not too much. And it's coming out almost indistinguishable really from the colours I've already got on here, or the charcoal that I've already got on here, which is a bit disappointing. I thought I would just let it run. I'm loving the hint of blue that I'm getting. I did wish for a little bit more, but I'm okay with that. And I am getting the hint of blue across here and at the bottom there, but not much at all. So I'm going in here with a little bit of the indigo, and oh goodness, I'm loving this. This is lovely. This is more or less the colour that I wanted to pick up before. Payne's Grey was too close to the charcoal, but I am loving this. And just want to pick up a little bit more up here. I was having such a lovely time playing with the original piece for my altered guest check that I decided to create another piece and use up or mop up the excess of paint that I had in my palette. So here I've just laid down the masking tape. I haven't gone over the top with any charcoal or clear gesso. I've just gone in with the actual indigo paint, and also here you can see I'm going in with the Payne's Grey. So I went off at a little bit of a tangent a moment or two ago. This was the original piece I was working on. Let me pop that water out of the way. This was the original piece I was working on, but I had some lovely leftover paint. So I grabbed a piece of, this is just normal printer paper. It's slightly a heavier weight printer paper, and I just spritzed it with clear water out of my water bottle, picked up the paint on the paintbrush and just dabbed it all over. So I've got a mixture of the Payne's Grey and the indigo on here, and I just love the effect, and I'm going to definitely be using this in another background or for another background. But then I knew that I had another piece of the mixed media paper, so I thought, well, I'll try it out on there. Didn't flow as well, in honesty, maybe because this paper is more absorbent, but I still like the effect it gave me. Same process, spritz it with water and then just pick up some of the paint from the palette and dabbed it on, let it roll, dry it between layers, and then I decided I'd have a go and do it on another piece, and this time add some more of the masking tape. So as you see, I've done that. Now this time I worked with the indigo and also with the Payne's Grey, and then because I wasn't getting much definition on here on the actual tape itself, I went in with the charcoal pencils, just grabbed one, and I just roughly but very lightly traced the lines, and then activated the charcoal with some clean water, let that flow and dry, and I have to say I'm loving these. The dilemma now is I like these much better than this one, and I am so tempted to pick up and run with this one, but you might see these pop in later on as I play with these as well. So let's go to some mark making. I'm going to work with my pale gold, and I'm just going to use the end of my paintbrush, and I'm going to make some little dots all over here and give that a try. I've got a little bit of the paint in my palette here, and I'm just going to have a little practice on one of these scrap pieces first, I think, and see how this turns out. And yeah, I'm liking the effect there, so I'm going to do a few more down in this bottom corner here, I think. Probably not liking that little splodge in the middle there, but that's fine. So I'm going to pop that one to one side. Managed to get it all over my fingers, and I'm going to give it a try on this one. So I'm going to come down to this bottom corner again and play with that, and play with that area. And I'll do the same with this one, because I want to use up the paint that I've got. And this time I'm just going to go in randomly. Finding the technique is to slightly rotate the end of the paintbrush, or the paintbrush, as I make the mark, and I can get a better impression then. But yeah, I'm liking that. Maybe a few more down in the bottom. And this is where I always come a cropper, because I can't do less is more when I get going with the things like this. Loving this effect. They always say, just give yourself permission to play, but I very rarely do. And then when I find I do for something like this, I absolutely love it. I really enjoy myself. And that's exactly what I'm having now. I'm having a ball. So I'm just going to do a few more, and then I really am going to stop and leave this. I'm going to give these a blast with my heat gun. This one is a lot more textured. This one I found with that technique I was using just now, where I rotate the brush, I don't get so much texture. I don't get a blob of paint, which is what I've got on here. And similarly on this one, I've got a blob of paint, but I know now for the future. So I think I'm going to dig out some more mark making bits, and I'll be back. I've got 1,000,001 things on the go here. I've really gone off at a tangent with these other three. So the mark making things that I've lifted out, I've got my black gesso, and if this doesn't work, I can use acrylic paint. But what I thought I would use is the edge of a credit card, and I've got here a Costa card, so I'm just going to use that to do some lines on my piece and mark make that way. I've got the lid to my spray bottle, so I can use that to make circles. I also have the lid to an old contact lens case, so I can make slightly bigger circles with that. I've got my Pritt stick, so I could do more circles with that. I'm not going to do any more splodges with my paintbrush, but the reason I've got this out is because when I was drying off these dots here, and on this one as well, I wasn't liking the meringue peaks that I had left with my first attempts at mark making with the paintbrush. So what I actually did was, when it was semi-dry and I dried it just using my heat gun, I just went over the top and just pressed and rotated slightly with a slightly larger paintbrush, and it still left me with, I'm hoping you can see, quite a bit of texture on these dots, but not the meringue peaks that I had before. So what else have I done whilst the camera's been switched off? Well, as you can see, I've put some scraps of paper on this one. Now, this is the inside cover from an old French book that I've got, and I've used some German text, and I think I actually might do the same on this one. but not use this. The reason I chose the inside page of the book was that it was a deep, soft, goldy colour, which I thought picked out the dots quite well. So I'm going to do, as I say, something similar on this one. Not quite sure what, but I think I am. I also came across this label when I was rummaging around for something else, and this has got sort of like gold tones to it and fern images, and I just thought that I might pop that on here just for some interest before I go in and do my mark making. So that's what I'm going to do with that one. This is the one I was thinking of for my altered guest check, and I was wondering about using this label. Let me fold it in half on here. I've got grey tones on this label, and this is a beigey background, which I thought might work. I could just go in with the book text or both, not sure. But what I am definitely going to use on this other one, which is the one I love, I am going to use this number 9 on here. Now this was the one that had that big splodge in the middle that I made an error with. I can have that on there in the centre, and it's picking up the charcoal lines, so I'm quite liking that actually. And I'm thinking that if I go around the outside edge with some hickory smoke or some black soot and some stitching, that will look good on that piece. So I'm almost leaning, I have to say, everybody, to using this on my guest check. But I'm not going to make a decision actually until all three are done, and then I can pick and choose which one I like the best. So what to do next? I think I will put some book page on this one. Let me pop these two to one side. I might like to use some of this German book text. This is some French. I'm thinking of something in this corner down here, but then I'm leaning towards this. This is a very grungy piece, isn't it? So I'm thinking that this might be more in keeping with it. I've put a little piece of French text behind this number 9, and I'm going to glue that on there. So that's my next job for this one. So I want to position it so I'm hiding that blob and one of these down there. So I'm going to go in now and mark make on this one, or do some mark making on this one. This one, I'm thinking I'm going to use this label. I love the moon on it, and I think that's going to give me scope for going in and using my micron pen and also these for my mark making, or these for my mark making. So I'm going to glue this one in place. Well, actually, I don't think I need to glue it. No, it's a sticker. And I'm actually liking that on here. The colours here are picking up this soft tone here and here. And this background almost looks mountainy, so it's in keeping, I think. And now I can go in and do some mark making on this one. So let's pop that one to one side. This one was giving me some pause a little while ago, because I wasn't sure about having, if I lift that off, it's not stuck down, it's just positioned. I was looking at it down here and it didn't sit right. So what I thought I could do is I could take a small portion of the label, sort of that much maybe, or maybe even a little bit less, and put that up in that corner, and then use the rest down here. So I think I'm going to go with that. I think these will soften in better, maybe if I do some stitching, random stitching across that. And I've just noticed that that writing is now upside down, because originally I was going to have the ticket there, wasn't I, or the sticker there. But not to worry, that'll be hidden, I'm sure. Going back to this one, I am loving this one, and also this one. This one not so much at the moment, and I would like to just actually leave this one here and not do any more to it, because I'm frightened of ruining it. But I'm not going to. I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to put a little bit of black gesso. So I'm thinking I will do pieces down there. Yeah, okay. And something similar on this one. I'd like that on that one. I'm going to put another one in there. Okay, too much. I should have left that one alone. And did a real mess on that one. So I've got a little bit more gesso on my mat here, and I just thought I would make some random circles. So I'm probably going to put a postage stamp or something up there in that corner, everybody, and hide that. Let's hope I don't make a similar mess on this one. Actually, what I think I'll do with this one is go in with a pen rather than this, but I would like to try and get a couple of little circles down here. Okay, so let's try again. Right, I'm going to quit whilst I'm ahead with this one. So these are how my pieces are looking at the moment. This one, abject fail. So I've lifted out some bits here that I'm hoping will save the day. So I've got a washi sticker here, a number 8, which will cover up that blob there. And I'm liking the way the circles that didn't work or not work particularly well are kind of mimicking the shape. I've got another washi sticker here, and I need to do something in this area down here. So what I thought I might do is do that, not too close to this edge because I'm going to stitch on my sewing machine, but I'm liking how the P, which is black, picks up the boldness of this and this. Don't like this smudge here, so I was wondering about using some of this German number tape and seeing if I could cover it up a little bit, and then using a stamp here, just create another little bit of a collage going down here. So that's how this one is looking so far. I don't really think that there's anything I can do on here to actually save this or rescue it. I'm not liking it at all. I will stitch round it, and I will do a little bit more mark making on here, but use this as a test piece, as I think I've said before. With these two, I am liking how they're looking. This one, I want to do some mark making up here. So I've lifted out a micron pen set. I've lifted out the 0.5. There's all different nib sizes in here. So I'm just thinking I might do a couple of random crosses up here like that, and a few in this corner here. And it's whether I've got the brave bones to go in and do circles around these, and I think I have, so I'm just going to go with it. And similarly here. There we go. So on this one, I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to make a few more defined lines here. And yeah, I'm going to go around these as well. What I'm going to do is take these to my sewing machine, and I am going to stitch around the outside and see what it looks like when I've got some threads on here. Maybe I'll play with this one a little bit more before I go off and do that. Okay everybody, so I'm just going to take these away now to my sewing machine and stitch around the outside, and then I'll be back to show you my finished pieces and choose one to go on to my guest check. So I'll be back in a moment. So here we go, everybody. These are my my finished pieces now that I've stitched all the way round, and as always I'll do some photos at the end for you to have a closer look. I love the way the stitching has framed these. This was the one where I used the charcoal that I scraped off the end of my charcoal pencil, mixed it with clear gesso and water, and I love the texture on here of the gesso over the top of the masking tape. I went round the label as well, stitching that because it just looked as if it had been plopped in the middle, and it needed to have something that would help it ground with the rest of the piece. So stitching round has obviously done that. It adds that little bit of connection to it. This one, I actually like this one better now that it's stitched round the outside. I'm not loving it, but I certainly am happier with this collage at the bottom, and I went in with some extra little bits of mark making down here, and it's amazing when I give myself permission to do that and to think that this is just a test piece or something I'm going to discard, then I'm quite happy playing and going in and doing stuff like that, and that is a lesson to me. So obviously I've learned something from playing, particularly with this piece. Not loving this round here, but it doesn't matter. It was fun to play with and I've learned something. And this, I think, is my overall favourite, and this is the one I'm going to choose for my guest check, for the simple reason that I love the texture and the colour to the background. Yes, it's more modest in terms of the mark making, just straight lines and some circles around these blobs. I am tempted to go in and actually stitch on these lines here rather than just have them as black gesso marks that I made with my Costa Club card. But actually this is all about mark making, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that, but I am going to ink around the edge with some Distress Oxide Hickory Smoke on this one and this one. So there we go, everybody. All I need to do is do that inking and glue this one onto my guest check and call it a day. Thank you so much for watching. I've really enjoyed my afternoon. The one lesson I have learned and I need to take away is just to relax more when it comes to something like random mark making, and just to go with the flow and not to try and control what I'm doing too much. So a valuable lesson learnt there for me today. Thank you again for watching, everybody. Take care, and until the next video, bye bye now.